Hello everyone, it's DuckFaden07. Today I'm playing GRIXIS JACE list. I've been working on this build since OTJ release and didn't have enough time to put it out, but in the meantime I changed a few stuff a bit. I saw some lists doing good, so adjusted mostly sideboard, and the main board is pretty much the same as I had it initially. But I believe Seeded Truth is a much better option to play in this list than it is to play Ancestral Vision. Having 4 Seeded Truth plus Fables plus Iteration, I believe that is enough to cut down on your, plus having 3 surveil lands. I think the surveil lands really help with the card selection and the mana screw, mana flood. So I think having 3 of those plus 4 cantrips in Seeded Truths, very efficient cantrips, looking at 3 cards, plus Iteration, plus Fable, I think that is enough to play just 21 land in this list, and it played a bunch of leagues and it felt more than enough, and I'm pretty happy with having 21. Okay, so what else do we have here? In addition, I like having 4 Valki in this build. Valki is Seeded Truth is just good by itself. It's brutal when you have it in Jace, but it's okay if you just cast it for 2 mana in most situations for this deck. I play 4 Fable in this deck, and I prefer having 4 Fable than any other 3-drop in this build. Fable, you can use Fables to discard excessive copies of Valki, and having 4 Valki with Jace is just so good because Valki is ultimate Jace target. You always want to have target Valki in your hand when doing the Jace ability. Also adding 2 Subtlety as some type of free mana interaction, and I decided to play Subtlety because I play a lot of blue spells in this deck, and I didn't want to play other removal that is not 1 mana, except for one of Flame of Aner, of course. Pseudo removal is also Release to the Wind, but Release to Wind is mostly used to cheat in Valki in play or Subtlety, or just a Fable. Of course, sometimes a Blinking Fable can be crazy good too. So Release to the Wind is another interaction with Valki. Since we play 4 in this build, it will come up frequently. So also it's a way to scam the Subtlety in, and scam it in a better way actually, because when you scam Subtlety you don't get to use ability both times, but when you Release to the Wind Subtlety you can play it on their creature and then decide if you want to hard cast it to start attacking, or just save it there in the exiled zone to play it for free whenever you want. It's pretty it can be pretty brutal with Subtlety, and we have 2 of those in the main, 1 in the side. On the side, additional Flame of Aner as artifact hate and additional removal, plus 1 Tidebinder as additional wizard to support Flame of Aners. They mostly come in similar matchups anyway. More creature hate in Stern Scolding and Shielded Edicts. My graveyard hate of choice here is Surgical plus Cling to Dust. I think this is a fine choice in the control deck. 1 Spell Pierce, 2 Force of Negations, like a little split between those, and 1 Annul as additional artifact enchantment hate in addition to Flame of Aner, of course, and that's it. So pretty simple and pretty all efficient cards. I really like Seeded Truth. Also very important Seeded Truth interaction is that if you target it with Snapcaster Mage, you can cast it from the graveyard, and you also get to draw 3 cards, which is something you can do with Ancestral Vision and just playing Ancestral Vision. In this build, I believe it's only doable by having a one-off as like a 5th copy of Seeded Truth, stuff like that. And that's it. Okay, so I'm very happy with the gameplay. Deck felt very good, very competitive, and let's go check out the gameplay. Okay, so I was playing first. Pretty good hand, double removal, counterspell, Fable, Jace. I really like this, so I can go for the survey land or just go for the surveil or for removal. It's best to go surveil here, just remove non-lands from the top. And here I find a Seeded Root. I really want to dig for a third land, so I decide to play this instead of holding counterspell or whatever, and I didn't find the land, but I find Expressive Iteration. That's a pretty good too. So depending if I find a land or not, I can choose to play Fable or Iteration. Since I got land from top, I think like Fable is definitely best option to go with here. And yeah, my opponent plays Force of Negation, and then it is pretty much clear there on Rhinos. And yeah, luckily they didn't have it turn 3, so I get to play the Jace, I get to hold the counterspell for their turn, so this means it's a pretty good situation for me. Opponent takes Jace, that is fine. I want to really hold a counterspell for the next turn, and I have Iteration which I can cast for free on my turn. Really strong situation here for me. Okay, so I go for Iteration, finding another counterspell and the land, so passing the turn with double counterspell and Snapcaster in hand. Yeah, really grateful situation, very hard to lose a game like this one. But obviously, yeah, it's easy to do mistake in a control deck like this. Opponent goes for Charles. So of course I try to counterspell this. They resolve Charles, which is fine. I don't really have much use for my lightning bolts anyway. Okay, so here I can go for Snapcaster Mage, recast Seeded Root from the graveyard, draw 3 cards, which is pretty much insane, and still hold a counterspell. Yeah, an opponent has Subtlety, but that is just temporary solution, and I'm still holding counterspell for their turn. So yeah, I shouldn't fetched before casting Snapcaster, but it really doesn't matter. So again, I go for the snap. I can of course hold the snap to have a counterspell for the next turn, but I just prefer, at this point I prefer just going for Seeded Root from the graveyard, drawing more cards. And now I have a Flame of Feiner to kill one Rhino, Fatal Push to kill second Rhino. It's just impossible situation for opponent, even if they leave another snap on top, pretty brutal. And draw that snap, attack for 2, start attacking, second snap in hand to cast more Flame of Feiner from hand. I can also just hard cast Valki. I think in this deck it should come pretty often, that hard casting Valki. I think especially when you're playing slow control matchups, I think that will be pretty common thing to do. Okay, so here I decide to go for a Flame of Feiner on one of their tokens and just play my Fable. By playing Fable I can discard both of my lands next turn. I can easily block, triple block their Rhino if needed. And yeah, okay, they go for, they have double Plia, but I can still triple block to exchange with it. Yeah, they play Leyline Binding, but I just don't really care at this point. So removing 2 cards here to draw more, and I just go for a Fatal Push. Opponent tries to Force of Negation it, but I have a counterspell. So I was able to get rid of their Rhinos and play another Fable. It's just too much of value at this point, so much going on, and yeah. I am kind of low on life, but there is just no chance at this point. Next turn I have Fable flipping, I can hardcast Valki plus Expressive Iteration. They go for another Shardless, which is pretty good, but yeah, they used all 4 of their Crashing Footfalls already, so okay, yeah, that is it. Another snap in hand. So I go for snap, cast See the Truth from the graveyard, bolt their Charles, and use play Valki with Jace, so I don't have to use mana for it. Opponent doesn't have any more good top decks at this point. They used all their footfalls, so that is definitely game over. Let's check out game 2. Also, let's check out the sideboarding plan. Of course, I have to mull this. It is acceptable, this one. Tidebinder is decent here. I think this card is much worse since Cascade is not in the meta anymore. Okay, here I boarded in Edicts instead of bolts. They can deal with Rhino tokens and bolts really can't. Trim 1 Valki, trim 1 Jace, trim 1 See the Truth, release to the wind. Maybe I should not. Yeah, I forgot that release to the wind can actually just kill the Rhino token. Maybe I should not like trim this. Maybe 1, but I needed some room for my sideboard cards, so I used a Tidebinder and Spell Pierce and Force of Negations. So I have Surgical there, so basically I'm holding Surgical, plus Surgical is also great against them. They can resolve 1 footfalls and then that's it. And in this game I can Tidebinder their Cascade, and I can also just Surgical the footfalls in response to their Cascade spell, which is just brutal, so they cascade into nothing. Opponent goes for another surveil. Again, they just passing the turn, probably don't want to play into counterspell. Trying to and here I decided just to take all the footfalls without waiting for them, and now I can see their hand. There's Fire Ice, Force of Negation, Tidebinder, Double Endurance, and I go for first Fable. They Force of Negation it. Okay, maybe it was better here to just hold the counterspell for Endurance and whatever, but yeah, they got Lorien revealed here, which got them a little bit back into the game, and I was able to try to resolve my Jace here. And yeah, I can now exile Fable, play Fable next turn for free, still holding a counterspell for their turn. So yeah, it's an interesting game. A lot of stuff going on. They don't have footfalls, so they're depending on the fair game, but they have 2 endurance, they have Tidebinder, so that is a lot. Okay, opponent goes for a Tidebinder my Fable. I decide to Tidebinder their Tidebinder, but they have another one actually. That's pretty funny. Okay, so but here I can now go for the surveil, push one of their creatures, leave the snap on top, and exile Shieldred Edict. My opponent uses Fire Ice, and they pass the turn with, I think, double Endurance in their hand. I actually forgot about Endurance. So yeah, the Snapcaster Mage on top was pretty medium. I probably should not go for it. Okay, so in response to Endurance, yeah, I should have gone for, I think I should have gone for Snapcaster Mage there. Yeah, they had another Endurance, and yeah, with it, the Snap is just kind of dead. And they had enough mana here to play Endurance, so definitely it wasn't a good choice, but my opponent like didn't even play it in response, so kind of doesn't matter. But yeah, they got another Lorien to draw 3 more cards, and I was pretty low on life already. I did have Kiki and Jace on the field, and my opponent basically playing just Shardless Agent as attacker here, and pretty good situation, trying to find anything. Here, and I go for try to make a copy of Snapcaster to block Endurance here, but yeah, opponent has removal. In response, I exile Valki here, but I'm on 1 life, so I have to block with a Kiki there. And on my turn I try to cast a Tybalt for free. Opponent forces, and I go for the counter spell, and my opponent has another Endurance, so yeah, I was not able to get through that, and that was the game. I didn't play that one as good as I could. I think I could have won that game easily. But never mind, I had a good advantage in game 3, starting first. Okay, so here I have Seeded Root on turn 2. For turn 3 I can hold Tidebinder. If they try to go for the Cascade, I also find a Spell Pierce, which is really good here. And then they go for Fire Ice, so I find this as a good opportunity to play my Surveil land and hold a Spell Pierce for their turn. Then after that I can just continue playing slowly, holding a Tidebinder to counter another Cascade. Pretty good situation for me. I don't have to rush anywhere, just play my lands, hold my cards. Opponent doesn't try to go for Cascade here, so I want to hold 3 mana there for a Tidebinder, and that's why I decide to just play the Valki here, see what they have, and I find Subtlety, which is a solution for my Tidebinder to try to resolve their Cascade spell. That is why I went for Valki. I take their Subtlety, so yeah, they still have a Leyline Binding and their Tidebinder. So it's a close game, but I have Fable and double iteration, now also Shielded Edict, and I think now it is a good time to first go for attack. They can play Tidebinder, trade with Valki, I'm fine with that. And I think it's good time to go for iteration. I can of course I can play Tidebinder on their Leyline Binding, but I think I'd rather hold it. Opponent suspends another Footfalls, and now their hand is Subtlety, Tidebinder, and I think that these are 2 cards I know about. Okay, and the Force of Negation, of course, and yeah. Okay, so now I know about Tidebinder, Subtlety, and 2 suspended Footfalls. Only 3 cards in their hand, so 1 mystery card there. Opponent passes the turn. I have Fatal Push, I have Edict, so even if they succeed to resolve the Footfalls, I can kill a lot of creatures with using cards in my hand. So I would say I'm still very well positioned here. Okay, finally my opponent has chance to resolve the Footfalls, but I decide I try to go for the Tidebinder here. I'm okay if they use their Tidebinder and resolve these rhinos. I kill 1 rhino and put a land tapped. So now I can go for a Fatal Push, kill another rhino. I have 2 creatures to try to trade with their Tidebinder. Again, I play the Subtlety and reveal 2 bindings in their hand plus Subtlety. Okay, I try to attack here, try to force a trade. Opponent lets the damage through and then uses the binding to try to take my Valki, I'm guessing. So I decide to counter this. And they still have 1 turn to resolve the footfalls. Even if they do, I have Edict plus Snap to kill both. And here it is, a Flame of Feigner, great stop deck. At this point, killing their creature, drawing 2 cards. Also, that second card was a Force of Negation, putting me in even better position. Okay, now opponent goes for the binding, takes my Tidebinder and tries to resolve the footfalls, but I have a Force of Negation here. And Snap in my hand means I can go Snap into Flame of Feigner, which is just incredibly powerful. They put Snap on top, but that is totally fine. I just Shielded Edict their Subtlety, have another Edict in hand, play See the Truth from the graveyard, draw 3. See the Truth from the graveyard has just been so much relevant, and yeah, really incredible, much better than Ancient Visions, Ancestral Vision would be, definitely. Okay, I go for Iteration. I plot the Valki for the next turn, play Fable. They try to counter my Force, but I have Force too. So resolving Fable, I have Edict in hand and Annul. Okay, so opponent goes, finds Plea from the top, tries to resolve actually Inevitable Betrayal instead of Footfalls, which was just incredibly weird. Okay, so I have 1 minute on clock, but my opponent is low on life, and I get to play the Tybalt, I get to play See the Truth, draw more cards, put my opponent on 3, and next turn I have triple counterspell plus lethal with my Fables, so I have more than enough time to finish things here and finish this game. So yeah, I just have to finish this, holding a triple counterspell and going for attacks. Opponent tries to block with Tidebinder. I play one of my counterspells for the win, and that is the match against Rhinos. Okay, so let's check out another match. Pretty long, that first one, but it's control deck, so most of the games really go long. I mulligan twice, try to find a land, but still decide to keep 1 lander. But I have a survey land and See the Truth, which means if I get a second one, I will probably be able to find a third one. So I decide to keep it this time. I find another survey land on top, and I'm pretty fine with that. And surveilling another land to the top, I decided to go for the Lightning Bolt despite expecting Undying Spell here. So because I was definitely I definitely wanted to play Fable on 3, and they only have 3 cards in hand right now, so there's large chance I'll be able to trade with Ragavan. Unfortunately, they take a Fatal Push from the top of my library. And yeah, I get to push the Ragavan here, play See the Truth. Yeah, See the Truth is weird here because they can replay it with Doughty and draw 3 cards, but also that means they're sacrificing the Doughty, so without the Undying Spell, I think that is almost a fine trade. Here I play Iteration, find a land, holding Counterspell, passing the turn. Opponent is in good position. They have Doughty. They attacking with the Goblin Shaman token. I decide to trade here. And they go for Doughty, so this I just have to counter it, even if it means them drawing 3 with their second Doughty, or they holding it just to counterspell anything I play, whatever. So yeah, I decide to go for it on their turn. This means they can't draw 3, but they get to play anything. They can play instant speed like Subtlety, which gives them another attacker plus flipped Kiki Jiki, and top deck Grief means game over for me. Okay, so I had to deal this in the next 2 games. Let's check out game 2 and the sideboarding plan for the scam matchup. Okay, here you can see I didn't change much. Just trim 1 Jace. When I'm trimming Jace, I'm usually trimming Valki too. Also when I'm trimming Valki, I'm trimming Release to the Wind. So yeah, these trades I'm doing, it's definitely, these cards are connected. If you're trimming one, you're probably trimming another. Okay, so I wanted to bring in a more removal like Chivalry Edict. Okay, so here, similar situation to game 1, I go for Surveil land, keeping Jace on top. This time I decide not to go for the Bolt, just play the Fable and try to block with the Goblin Shaman token. Okay, so opponent has Molten Collapse, but this means they don't have much mana to play if they steal anything. Now I can plot a Fable, hold, Bolt plus push. Pretty good situation. Also another Fable already on the field. I really like my odds here. I go for the Bolt in the attacker's phase. I kill Ragavan and they play a Blood Moon. I don't think the Blood Moon is the most efficient spell against this deck. I'm not sure why they used it, but I'm okay with it. I have Jace here to plot my cards from my hand so I can play them that way. I decide to bolt them in response to Grief, and I have 1 blue mana here so I can cast my blue spells. They play Bowmasters in response to the Fable ability, so I don't use the Fable, and I plot my iteration here. Decide to stay back with my creatures. Maybe it was better option to just go for the attack here, but I decide they were low on cards. I decide to do this end of turn. Okay, now I sack the Jace for its ability, which means I'm copying my Expressive Iteration, doing a bunch of draws. I copy the Goblin Shaman, attacking with 3 Shaman tokens here, getting me a lot of colored mana so I can use my black spells like Edict here, kill the Bowmasters, and opponent concedes. That is the game. Let's check out game 3. Okay, so they go for Ragavan turn 1. I decide they're not going for a scam, but I decide to use the Subtlety anyway. Subtlety is very good card in this matchup. Obviously, post board I have 3 of those. Okay, so here my opponent resolves Doughty. I don't have removal, but I have counter for their Ragavan there. So I'm taking some damage from Doughty, but that's fine. Here I decide to take my second basic since I saw them play Blood Moon, and they decide to use the Doughty to counter my Fable, and now they resolve a Sheldred. That is like probably the most dangerous card for me in this matchup. Luckily I draw into Flame of Fener. I boarded in all the Flame of Fener, sorry, not, I didn't. I draw into my 1 Flame of Fener, and that in addition to 3 Fatal Pushes is my outs to their Sheldred, and they play Blood Moon again, but I have double islands, and I don't have much black spells, so this means I can basically play most of my deck, if not all except Valki. But Valki is also just not the card I'm interested in playing for 2 mana anyway. And yeah, here I also boarded in Stern Scolding. It can be good against a scam. In this situation, not so much, but it's okay. Opponent goes for Takenuma, gets their Shieldred back, but they don't actually have mana to cast Shieldred. And so this means I definitely want to trade with Ragavan here. Opponent goes for Pitting Needle, names Tybalt, and that's great news for me. Resolve another Fable, and they now only have Shieldred in hand and no ways to play it. I have Stern Scolding for anything else, and yeah, here I get rid of one of the Scoldings, and yeah, just start attacking with my Fable tokens. And yeah, my opponent concedes next turn. That is the match against a scam. So let's check out match 3. Okay, so it's a decent hand, nothing crazy, but I have turn 2 play, I have turn 3 play, also doing the surveil in meantime on turn 1. And then turn 4 I can go for the Jace. When Jace gets on the field, it mostly does pretty good job. Okay, so opponent is suspending Ancestral Vision, which means they're probably playing something very similar. I think my opponent played dimmer version of this deck. Okay, I go for my Seeded Truth here, trying to find another land. Opponent has suspended Ancestral Vision and goes for Valki here. No targets for Valki in my hand at the moment. I can go for a Bolt plus Seeded Truth. I think like just playing Fable here is probably the best. It's a threat they really have a hard time dealing with. They have to use 2 cards to get rid of it. And yeah, next turn I can try to play the Seeded Truth, try to find a solution for their suspended Ancestral Vision. I would really like to find counterspell for that if possible. Okay, so I decide to get rid of one of the Seeded Truths to draw here. I go for another basic dig. Sorry, I did not dig, but I played the Jace and killed the Valki, passing the turn. They're not resolving their Ancestral Vision for another turn. And yeah, now I have my Fable flipping. I find the counterspell, and I also have a Fable. So pretty good situation for me here. I can play my Fable here. If they have counterspell, they will definitely try to use it here. And yeah, they do use it here, and I let them do it because I wanted to counter the Ancestral Vision on their turn, prevent them from drawing 3 cards. So I think that was better option. They only had 1 card in hand at this point. So I successfully countered that, and yeah, at this point I have Kiki Jiki resolved, flipped, push, Flame of Fener, Seeded Truth, finding me another Fable. Really strong situation here. My opponent has Hole of Storm Giants, which is a turn 2 clock, but they first need to find another land to be able to start attacking. And in meantime, I got jump blockers in my Fables. Okay, so I go for a Fable. Now I can also play the Valki, and I take their Snapcaster. And yeah, my opponent concedes. That was the game. Let's check out game 2. I definitely have to mull this, keeping acceptable 6. And passing the turn. Okay, so Fable, I think Fable is like really good card in this matchup. Decide to graveyard another land. I have 3 is enough for this for right now. Opponent goes for Preordain, and I find the Seeded Truth. I think Seeded Truth is pretty good here. I digging for spells I need in this matchup. Also, it's good having it in the graveyard because of the Snapcaster. At any point, it's like the best Snapcaster target in most situations. Right now, I only want to just continue jamming my threats, make them use their counterspell or removal. I play Fable, they kill the token, still they have to deal with Fable. I tried to Subtlety their Jace, but they were able to resolve Jace and plot Valki. But yeah, I passed the turn holding double counterspell. Unfortunately, I don't have 4th mana to be able to play both of these. Okay, so they go for Valki. I play my counterspell. They have Spell Snare and they resolve the Tibalt, which is in most situations game over for this matchup. It's really hard to get back from this. I tried, I have a snap into Seeded Truth. This draws me a bunch of cards. I can definitely try to find some solutions there. Also, just trying to attack them. But opponent has also Bowmaster here. Yeah, so pretty good solution for them. They can just plus the Tibalt here, making it harder and harder to kill, and just drawing a bunch of cards with the exile ability, gaining a lot of card advantage, which is just crucial for this matchup. Okay, they minus their Tibalt, exile all spells from the graveyard, and they can now play the whole bunch of spells, and yeah, that is it. That is the game, and let's check out game 3. Okay, so I think Cling to Dust is decent here. It's just a 1 mana cantrip in most situations, but it can also just be crucial to play well against their Snapcasters. So it's just a 1 mana cantrip that can really serve me good in the mid game, late game. I can play it from the yard. Okay, so here I pass the turn. Not doing much. I have my iterations now. I don't even care if they counter it. Just interested in getting more lands, more advancing my board state, getting lands on the field. And next turn I can go for even hold the Snapcaster into the Seeded Truth or try to play the Jace. A lot of options. Okay, opponent goes for a Thoughtseize, takes my Jace. But yeah, my hand is just very good here, like triple Snapcaster and Expressive and Cling to Dust. That is like a really hard hand to beat in the matchup like this one. Okay, I go for Snap, try to go for the Seeded Truth, but my opponent counters that, goes for Valki, suspends the Ancestral Vision. I counter that, and now I go for a Snap into the Seeded Truth again, but this time I'm holding a counterspell as backup and drawing 3 cards back there, advancing my mana, really got me into powerful position here. Now they can plot with Jace, but I'm holding counterspells, so it's not even that good anymore. Okay, so right now I'm decided to play the Subtlety, try to attack Jace, try to just kill it. I go for another land, and Also now I have options. With Snapcaster there's just a bunch of targets, a bunch of good targets in the yard. My opponent pluses the Jace again and goes for another one. I don't really care that much about Jace at this point, so I can just let that resolve. Just play Subtlety. I think having Snapcaster in hand is more valuable right now, so I just play Subtlety so I can attack the Jace. And yeah, opponent, now I have my Snap to try to counter the vision, but unfortunately they have a spell snare to counter the Snapcaster, so yeah, but here I go for the Cling to Dust. Just drawing me another card. They go for the Snapcaster in response, killing my Snapcaster with Bowmasters, and I'm on 6, so pretty low. Okay, I didn't want to play my Otawara holding it, and now I think now it's a good time to go for the Tybalt. But unfortunately my opponent finds counterspell for that too, and yeah, I played the Fable so I can start attacking them with Subtlety and still hold blocker for their Orc army. I trade with the Orc army. I don't plan to use the Fable, and now it's just a great position for me. I can kill, I go for iteration, kill the Bowmaster, play another Fable. I have Cling to Dust in the yard. I have a blocker for their Hall of Storm Giants, but I also have Edict to just kill it, and that was their last chance of getting back into this game. And yeah, so much I can do now. I can play Cling to Dust multiple times, and Cling to Dust is just doing great value right here. I go for iteration, finding Jace plus Valki, and plot Valki so I can play it for free next turn. And yeah, if once you resolve the Valki, it's pretty much unbeatable in this matchup. So opponent concedes, and that is the match. Okay, let's check out another match, match 4. Okay, so I was playing against a control deck, the blue-white control with Narset, Teferi, the One Ring, and Days Undoing. Okay, so it's a decent hand, medium one that can turn up to be pretty good. I have turn 1 surveil land, turn 2 I can choose to go for the Seeded Root or hold the counterspell. Since I saw the Kahira, I think I wanted to go for the Valki here. I don't really care if they counter this, and it is an attacker, and also just I get to see their hand, get some information. I see they're low on lands, and but they were able to prismatic ending my Valki. So now I get to resolve my Expressive Iteration. Play the surveil land. They can, of course, I was risking it, hoping they don't top deck a land for one turn, but yeah. Now I was forced to fight the One Ring card advantage, and it's pretty impressive how long did the deck last against undisputed One Ring, doing just incredible card advantage on their side of the field. I think Valki is a great answer to the One Ring. I also have just a bunch of cards in my hand which I can play out. Opponent uses the Leyline Binding. They have basically unlimited resources there. I decide to hold my counterspell to counter the Narset. So I have Bolt, I have Snap to go Bolt, Snap, Bolt, of course, the famous play. Also attacking with Goblin Shaman token. Really, it's getting me close to the possible kill. if they try to tap out. I also decide to play the Valki here as additional attacker, additional threat, and they're also just losing the mana from the One Ring, and that is I think now it's a good opportunity to go for the Bolt, but instead I play the Seeded Truth, find the Fable, so I decide to go for the Fable instead. And next turn I have 2 attackers. I can yeah, opponent loses some life in upkeep and finds another One Ring to play, so I can't attack deal damage right now, but still I can get rid of the Fatal Push. I have Subtlety, which I can play instant speed on their end step, and I'm hoping for them to use the One Ring again to lose some more life with it. Okay, so I was able to put my opponent down on 4, and they got a ring next turn with 2 counters, but they find another ring. So yeah, they will untap on 4 life, but it's questionable if they can use this One Ring for more draws if they don't have another one in their hand. So I still have a decent board state, and there's like 3 creatures, 1 Subtlety in hand, so maybe I can still hope to do the lethal there. Opponent goes for Teferi. In response, I try to Subtlety the Teferi. Subtlety goes in, and now they need Verdict, and yeah, they find a Verdict, which is definitely definitely card they were looking for right now. Then they try to resolve Teferi again. I have Counterspell right now, but yeah, that Verdict was definitely a crucial card there. Card my opponent was looking for, and I go for the Fable, resolve Fable again. This time opponent can go for the Solitude, start gaining life, and now yeah, they got this now. They can now use One Ring again to tap it. Prismatic ending my Fable, and yeah, it is game over now. I can't really come back again, but it was kind of interesting game. I risked it all there in the beginning, where I hoped they won't get the land for another turn, so they won't be able to cast the One Ring. And yeah, here I started first. I had to mulligan to 5 cards, and yeah, my opponent did win game 1, but they only had 4.5 minutes left on clock. And you will see here I won game 2 fairly easily, even with mulligan on 5. So yeah, here I just passing the turn, holding Force of Negation, holding a Counterspell, going for the Survey land, end of turn. Another Force here means I can probably just go for Counterspell here and still hold the Force for their turn. Now I can go for Iteration, play Jace. Opponent tries to Subtlety. I have a Subtlety of my own, and yeah, Jace on the field. They play Prismatic Ending to remove it, of course, but yeah, it can be pretty good threat often. This time they had a removal, but I was able now to cast a Tybalt for free next turn due to the Jace ability, and I had Force of Negation plus Snapcaster to protect my Tybalt, and my opponent concedes the game, and since they were so low on time, they conceded the entire match. There was just no chance they're going to be able to win game 3 in under 2.5 minutes. So that was another match. And yeah, let's go check out the last match of this league. It was against Meninone. He was of course playing his Living End, and yeah, I mean This deck plays counter spells. I have a Force of Negation, I have Spell Pierce on the sideboard, but all of that is not a lot because they have a lot of ways to play around it, and I don't have a real hate since these Cascade decks are very out of favor lately, so I don't have cards like Chalice of the Void, True real graveyard hate. So yeah, I think Living End is better positioned right now because there is just so much less hate than there was before. Okay, so opponent continues to cycle, digging. I can now resolve Jace, and Jace can draw a discard. Yeah, this was probably the not a good decision, but I decided to counter their force to try to resolve Jace. The point was Jace maybe helps me dig for another counter spell, and they were stuck on lands, so I was hoping to hit another one or Snapcaster. Yeah, but here opponent had a double Force plus Subtlety to negate my Jace completely, and they find their third land, which I think it was probably what they were hoping to hit, of course, and I didn't get that counter spell, and now my opponent can go for the Shardless, and I just have to concede there, nothing else to do. Okay, so let's check out game 2. Of course, I put my Force of Negation, Spell Pierce in, trim on removal, of course, like Bolt, Flame of Feiner, Push. Yeah, but it's definitely a hard matchup since I don't have all that hate that I would usually play in a deck like this. You can see my opponent's hand here. They had Teferi and a Force of Negation. I have Tidebinder. And yeah, my opponent has Teferi in their hand, but they don't have a blue source. Now, at this point, 2 cards in their hand is Otawara plus a Teferi, so they're looking for Cascade or White Source. I have a Tidebinder to get rid of their first attempt to Cascade. Now I can play my Jace, just plot the Fable, pass the turn, protect Jace with 2 of my creatures. Opponent decides to play their Otawara there. Okay, so now I can start attacking, play my Fable for free, and hold mana for Otawara there. I can now plot Seeded Root, which means next turn I'll be drawing 3 cards. I really can't let this Valki die, and yeah, opponent decides to just scoop there, and that was the game 2. So let's check out the final game of this league. Game 3 against Menina's Nay, Living End. Okay, only graveyard hate I have available here is like Cling to Dust, Surgical, so no real graveyard hate. As you don't really expect to see much of these decks at this point in the leagues, except of course if you're playing against Living End grinders like Menina. Okay, so I decided to go for the Valki here. My hope was like try to steal the Shardless Agent if they have it, and then untap with Tidebinder, but my opponent has like perfect response to it, Subtlety it, then grief me, and then just go for the Plea and put a lot of power on their side of the field. And yeah, I can't do much about that, so that is game over, and that is entire league. Hope you liked the list, hope you liked the gameplay. Unfortunately in this league I didn't really get to use release to the wind much, but in the other leagues I played, I successfully blinked Valki and Subtlety with it, a few times even Fable. Of course, this is like probably the flex slot of this build. You can use it to play more Flame of Feiners, more 1-mana removals, definitely. The list is good without them, definitely, maybe even better, but I think Release to the Wind is at least a decent option for this build, which can be used as additional way to cheat Valki in, to scam Subtlety, or to blink Fable or Snapcaster, whatever. And yeah, that is it. Okay, so that's it for today. Friendly reminder to click like, click subscribe, comment in the video, especially if you have gameplay experience with this type of list. Want to see what are your flex slot options for this deck. You can write that down in the comments, and again, thank you for watching. That's it for today. Goodbye.